top fragrances that will make you smell like a lumberjack. You know, you want to go for that pure woodsiness, like you just walked out of the forest. I have some fragrances that embody that pretty well. And as always, all the fragrances that I mentioned will be available in the Amazon associate links down in the description below. Now, some of these are kind of light woodsy fragrances, and these other ones are more like heavy oud fragrances. So there's a bit of variation here. I'm going to start with a relatively light one, which is Barretto Super Cedar. This is quite nice if you obviously have a preference for cedar. It's on the lighter side. It's about 4 to 5 hours of longevity, definitely more of a subtle, smooth, very natural smelling type of fragrance. Definitely something you would want to wear if you don't want to show off or be too obnoxious with a really loud fragrance. This is, again, very natural, very warm, kind of dry, even, it kind of blends coldness with warmth, because primarily it is a warm fragrance, but it has a little bit of coldness as well. But this is definitely kind of a good go-to option if you just want a very agreeable woodsy scent, because some wood fragrances are a little too intense, a little too heavy, too warm. But again, this is very well balanced. It's relatively simple. There's not too many notes in it. Really, it's just the cedar taking the center stage. So again, if you're just looking for something natural, simple, you know, nothing crazy, then Super Cedar is probably one of your best options. And again, it just smells nice. It's a very agreeable, very friendly fragrance, and it's pretty much impossible to go wrong with. Because after all, I think most people enjoy the smell of cedar. So again, you can't go wrong with this. Then, if you want something that has a little bit more character, a little bit more texture, you know, then I would say Creed Vetiver here. This is really nice if you kind of want to go for a little bit more of a spicy, woodsy fragrance. Now, the main thing is vetiver, but it is very closely paired with wood notes and some spices and just some general warmth in there. It's also a very natural smelling fragrance. It's just kind of, it's going to make your nose tingle a bit with those more spicier notes that it has. But it's definitely very nice. The vetiver note itself is also, it kind of has a woodsy smell of its own. It's kind of like dry grass. And again, a little bit spicy, a little bit woodsy. But definitely a good option if you want to smell very natural, but also rugged and masculine, because vetiver does that very nicely. Also, good news is that Creed Vetiver lasts a surprisingly long time. When you first put it on, it might not seem like it's going to last a long time, but it's going to last around 6 hours, at least minimum 6 hours, maybe even 7. But it's for that type of fragrance, it lasts a long time. And again, another one of those agreeable fragrances. It's kind of hard to go wrong with it just because it's so likable in general. But moving on from that one, if you want to go into heavier territory, then I would say Obsession from Calvin Klein. Now, this is technically the women's version, but you can get the men's version. It's pretty similar. Obsession has long been known to be one of the strongest wood fragrances on the market. It's definitely not for the faint of heart just because it's so strong. Now, it's primarily wood notes mixed with very, very heavy animalistic notes and some resins. But really, when you first put it on, you get this blast of woodsiness, and then you get this blast of animal musk. So again, not for everyone, especially if you're not into the animal musk part, but if you're going for something really heavy and something that has, you know, been associated with seduction and just general sexiness, then that's what Obsession is about. It came out in 1980, so it is a more old-fashioned fragrance, if you want to call it that. But I still think it works. Both the women's and men's versions are quite nice, although I will say that the women's version is pretty much unisex. It's just really musky, really heavy. It's not what you would think of when you think of a feminine fragrance. So men could definitely get away with wearing the female version of Obsession if you would really want to. But both Obsessions are extremely woodsy, again, heavy, musky, amber, fragrances. So they're also extremely long lasting. They're gonna last at least 9 hours, maybe 10. You'll have to scrub it off to get rid of it. So again, make sure you like those type of really strong fragrances, otherwise you're just gonna be blasted with it. Now, if Obsession's too strong for you, maybe you want something strong but not that strong, then I would say Creed Royal Oud is a good option here. This is, especially if you like oud specifically, this is a good kind of more mild oud. It is strong, but it's more on the more moderate side of the spectrum. It's not going to give you a headache and, blast your nostrils, but this is, again, a good kind of moderate oud, nothing crazy, kind of refined, a little bit dry. It kind of reminds me of like an old writing desk. If you have like an old antique piece of wooden furniture, it just has a certain smell to it. It's kind of warm and rugged, and it's a very distinct smell of woodsiness, and that's kind of what this communicates. Very sophisticated, old style, woodsy smell. Now, the oud in here is very prominent, as you would expect, so you do have to really like the smell of oud to enjoy this, because it is on the more musky side with that particular wood note. But the longevity on this is also pretty good. It's about 6 to 7 hours, nothing too crazy, but it's not weak either. So again, a good moderate option for those who are looking for something that has oud in it. Then the last one that I have has some more unique wood notes in it. This is Narciso Rodriguez Bleu Noir for him. This is primarily a musky, spicy, woodsy type of fragrance. Cardamom and nutmeg are the main spices, so it is pretty spicy right off the bat. Has some pretty prominent musk notes, and then the main wood notes are cedar and ebony wood, and then it also has some amber and vetiver thrown in. But really, the ebony wood and the cedar combined are very, very strong. They kind of ground the entire fragrance. They give it a very powerful warmth, but also a certain smoothness, and then mixed with the vetiver and the amber, more warmth and more smoothness. In general, a very masculine type of fragrance. Pretty strong, not super strong, 6 to 7 hours on longevity. Really good projection, actually. It's, definitely going to spread around through the crowd, going to leave a nice scent trail and all that, but definitely a good option if you're looking for something more appropriate for the evening. I would say Bleu Noir is more of an evening fragrance, but in general, this is my list here of woodsy fragrances, lumberjack style fragrances. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, of course, you can always leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos like these throughout the week, so stick around for those.